Hey, what's up, guys? I'm gonna let a couple people pour in before we jump into it and get started. But for you guys watching the replay, it's good to see you guys. Glad to be here. And we have a couple of cool stuff to talk about today. I wanted to kind of just share my thoughts on the midst of this crazy transition that we're in right now, mainly, and how that kind of breaks down into cultivating our mind, body, and spirit, and then throwing a little bit of financial stuff in there too, obviously, because that's kind of been my focus with this whole shift and how we can maximize our not just our mind, body, and spirit, but our financial and abundant energies in general as well. So the financial thing, you can kind of, I've been trying to meditate on where that plays into mind, body, and spirit. And I think it honestly plays into all three, but maybe more so an argument for the mind, because it does tend to be a mental thing, the way that we talk about, finances. It's mainly mental, but when you really break down wealth into its energy and, what core the core of what wealth and money and all that is, which is an energy exchange, that's kind of a body thing, right? Because an energy exchange is physical. If we go back to the ancient kind of times of what value transfer was, it started out as bartering. It started out as trading things to people to get things in return, trading food for, resources, or vice versa, things like that. And so that could kind of be a body aspect in a way. But then there's also the spirit aspect of the finances, which is it's a direct reflection of our relationship with God. And I really believe that our wealth, not only is our health is our wealth, which is another, case for the body, but our wealth in terms of our wealth of spirit and how close we are to the source creator. That, I think, is probably actually the most significant and most important aspect of finances. So I kind of tagged finances on the end of the title because it relates to all three, really. But I wanted to kind of just talk about and have a chat with you guys, do any kind of Q&A about just all the crazy stuff going on in the world right now, how we can manage it, how we can understand it, and how we can take opportunity from it for the upcoming shifts, and what our roles are to play in these shifts, because I think we all have very specific, kind of nuanced, niched skills and missions that we are meant to embody within this lifetime, to help this transition. So welcome, everybody. If you guys wouldn't mind sharing this in like a Telegram group or on your social media, Facebook or whatever, that would really help me out. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe, hit the like button. That stuff helps out. And also, this live is brought to you by my own coaching program. I'm sponsoring my own show. So if you are wanting to take advantage of this financial shift and you want more from me personally and what my personal assistance and guidance throughout this shift in terms of the financial aspect of it, but really bringing, the mind, body, and spirit into it as well, is what we do. My coaching program, Conscious Crypto, focuses on this, and we will show you how to not only purchase and buy cryptocurrency, how to send it to your sovereign wallet, which is, to me, the most important part of this financial shift. One of the most important parts is the sovereignty of finance and actually owning what we own, actually having what we own. So to me, storing cryptocurrency, storing digital assets in a sovereign wallet is the next best thing to having like physical precious metals. And you could even make a case that it's better than that, because you can't go to the store and spend precious metals right now, right? But you can go to the store and spend your crypto if you have a crypto credit debit card, which is what I do, and how I pretty much do all my finances these days. I pretty much just run on XRP, and I spend my XRP, I buy more, and I do very, very little in the traditional financial system because it's so unstable right now. And not just the instability of, like, say, inflation with the dollar and all that, but, people are getting their bank account shut down left and right for just talking about the wrong things online. People are getting their PayPals removed. I know several friends with larger channels who have had their PayPals and multiple other payment donation type services just taken from them because the big brother doesn't like what they talk about. So to me, that sovereignty of being able to store your value in a digital form in a place where no one can fuck with it, excuse my French, no one can fuck with your finances, right? It's really down to you. And no one's able to freeze it, no one's able to take it from you if they disagree with your, your stances on whatever. They can't do anything about it. And that's what was beautiful about the trucker rally in Canada, is when these people were having their businesses shut down, when they were having their bank accounts shut down for their small businesses and their other things. They were forced to trade and do business in only cryptocurrency, because the banks had shut down their accounts, PayPal shut down their accounts, even the crypto exchanges, which is where you buy and sell it, those got shut down because those are privatized. So this is why you want to keep your stuff on a private wallet. Nobody can mess with it, and we've seen it multiple times. We've seen it here, we've seen it Ukraine, Russia, these places where there's a lot of volatility going on in the geopolitical sense. And we keep seeing over and over that these sovereign wallets are really the most sovereign place to store your wealth. So if you want help with that and you want me to guide you on that and teach you about it, join our weekly coaching calls. I have a full super in-depth course that goes over all this stuff, tutorials for all of it, shows you how to do everything. You can check out the link in the description below. Conscious Crypto is the name of that coaching program. And yeah, so basically, I feel that we are close to the tipping point of some major geopolitical changes. And I think that we are witnessing the collapse of what you could call the American corporation. This is kind of relates to the act of, was it 1876, I think it was, where basically the United States was set up. There was basically a mirrored state that was a corporation instead of a constitutional republic. And this is basically the world that we've been living in. These straw man accounts and everything like this. And I really feel that what we're seeing with, the person who's in office right now, the person, whatever it is, and the whole collapse of that, narrative, and people seeing every day that this, this person that's supposedly running the country is, hardly a person at all. And it's just getting so obvious to the common person. And then we have what happened with, Mr. T recently in Florida, and there's just a lot of things that are catalysts for this inevitable restructuring of things. And this kind of comes down to, the idea behind the Great Reset versus what I would term the quantum financial reset. And not just financial, it's really far beyond the financial, but I think the finances are going to be the core of what we would call the quantum financial reset, or the quantum financial system, QFS, some people will say. And to me, that is the equal and opposite of the Great Reset. And just to kind of explain what I mean by that, I'm going to open the chat real quick first. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to see you guys. Yeah, Joel, on a Tuesday. I felt like it was right. So basically, the quantum financial reset, the way I see it is, it's like I said, it's the equal and opposite to the Great Reset. So the Great Reset is obviously the Klaus Schwab World Economic Forum, one world currency, one world everything. It's basically the Chinese, CCP surveillance system on steroids on a mass level. Not what we want at all. And this is where I pick and choose, my cryptos, for instance, very carefully, because I think that some cryptos are feeding this beast of a system, particularly Bitcoin and Ethereum, I believe, are feeding this beast. And to me, XRP and the assets that are within the ecosystem of XRP are feeding the quantum financial reset that's for the people. And at the same time, they're Trojan horsing the Great Reset. So instead of the Great Reset, where we'd have this, you won't own anything and you'll be happy about it kind of thing, to me, the quantum financial reset is the decentralization and the giving back to the people this true sovereignty. And it all starts with finances. And I really believe that, because finances are really the core of how every other freedom operates. And what I mean by that is you aren't able to, and I'm pretty sure I've discussed this before on here, but you aren't able to properly express your freedoms, your constitutional freedoms, without the freedom of finances. The freedom of financial sovereignty is like the core pillar that is keeping up the infrastructure of your other freedoms. And just to give a couple examples, like the freedom to bear arms, right? The Second Amendment. You can't go and get arms if you're financially blocked from doing it, right? Maybe you can make your own gun, but it's probably not going to be legal or anything, right? But you're not able to go and act upon your legal rights, like buying guns, if you don't have financial freedom, if you're being blocked from being able to spend things, if your bank account's shut down, right? Freedom of speech, if you wanted to go and give a talk somewhere, if you wanted to fly to DC and do a big, event, or, whatever, wherever you're going to express your freedom of speech, even on the internet, it's hard to do if you don't have the money to, in the physical sense, get on an airplane. If you're blacklisted because of financial, stuff, your bank is down, you can't get airplane tickets or whatever. You can't afford to take a bus somewhere. You can't afford to drive to your destination. If they strip you of that financial freedom, then you've got nothing. You've got no other primary freedoms in this economy, the way it's set up, to express. And of course, there's, exceptions to this, but this is where I really see the financial thing as the core freedom that all the other freedoms are expressed and built around. If you don't have that, it's really hard to express those other ones. And so that's why I think on a world level, on a country level and a world level, we're going to have to restructure the financial system to properly engage on the world level with our full-fledged, sovereignty and freedoms. And so this is why I think that this reset in the financial sense, in the positive sense, the quantum financial reset, as opposed to the Great Reset, is going to do that. It's going to decentralize things. It's going to give them back to the people. It's going to allow for everyone to have equal access to financial opportunities, to investments, without being an accredited investor, without having to go through a broker. All these things that from kids, unless you were kind of groomed into knowing the financial jargon and the financial stuff, we just kind of were like, that's not for me. That's not my lifestyle. We want to do what we're passionate about. We want to give to the world, and we want a system that allows us to be able to receive for what we're giving to the world. We want a system where we can give openly and freely and fill in the niches for what we see needs help in our environment, both immediate and on the macro scale, and have trust that the system, the economic system, is going to work on behalf of God, in the sense that it will allow for the proper reallocation of resources to be given back to us for what we're doing, for the service that we're doing for the collective. And so in a very simple sense, I think about like music, musicians and artists of all kind, and also content creators. Hey, Lemonella, good to see you. Hey, Wendy. So what I think of, is like these content creators where it's very hard to make a living, or to make even just enough to keep yourself sustained as an artist or as a content creator online, or someone who's expressing and helping other people on the internet, unless you have a business built around it. And I would like to see, what's up, Alyssa? I would like to see a system in place, an economic financial system, where people can create their own shows online. And for one, not be banned, not be censored, right? To actually have it open for everybody. But for two, to have it naturally be able to pay these people, so that artists are as equally as valued as, big sports players, NBA players, or baseball players, or whatever. We want a system that rewards the creators in the world just as much as it's rewarding the celebrities and the financial gurus and all that kind of stuff. And this is where I believe blockchain is really going to play a critical role, because for one, it's going to decentralize the voting system. It's going to create a voting system where it is completely transparent and run by the people, governed by the people, where we can't have fraudulent elections. We can't have, mass level fraud that can be refuted, because all the data is stored privately on private servers that are easy to manipulate. And nobody knows if it's manipulated, because it's just ones and zeros. But on a decentralized public blockchain, you can't tamper with that. That's the inherent nature of the blockchain, is that it's every single block in the chain is connected to the previous block. So if anything was manipulated data-wise on any kind of level, it would be seen, known to everybody. It wouldn't be refutable. And so that's kind of the basis of getting into the system, is being able to elect people that we're actually electing, right? And that's where I see it first coming in, and being, besides on a financial level, in the government sector and in the social governance. And this social governance is going to apply to so many different levels as well, because it's not just going to be, you know, governance in terms of electing our presidents and our city council and all that stuff, but it'll be governance for the companies that we're seeing run the world. So this is another really cool thing, is that pretty much every blockchain now that is, I believe, going to make it in the long run has some kind of social governance system built in, or is working on it, where the people are able to vote directly for the direction of that project, that blockchain. And I believe that this is going to directly be the way that we run companies as well. So there's something called a decentralized autonomous organization within kind of the digital asset space. And this is DAO for short, decentralized autonomous organization. And these are basically the future of how organizations, companies will be run. Instead of it being run by a top-down CEO, board of advisors, and they make all the decisions, and, you know, there's funny money coming in and out, it's going to be governed by the users of the network, where if you, for instance, own a token in that network, you get a vote on the direction that it goes. And this is where, you know, people have talked about how companies like Uber and stuff could be run on blockchains like Algorand, for instance. And eventually I think XRP and things as well. But like Algorand is specifically set up for this, where you can essentially run these companies on a blockchain with governance. And so I think that's going to be one of the most important things for changing that aspect of our sovereignty in the system. Being able to elect people, being able to control our companies, not allowing huge corporations to have monopolies on things like we see with Apple, and we see with, you know, Microsoft, and all these, any company that you can picture that pretty much has a monopoly, or you know, majority influence on the direction of things in the world. The tech companies, especially, like, you know, the social media companies, that's going to be a game changer. So Wendy says, feels like we're on the precipice of something biblical. And I would agree. I think more and more I've been picking up my Bible that I found very synchronistically, and I've been like opening the random pages of it and just getting these downloads on how we're literally going to see very straight up biblical things happen. The returning of biblical players, perhaps the reincarnation of people that were in the Bible that are doing very similar things. You know, similar kinds of miracles that happened in the Bible happening again. I think we're definitely in biblical times, and I think it's gonna even, you know, I don't want to say outshine the Bible, but really, in many ways, outshine what happened in the Bible. Like, more miraculous things happening within our lifetime than we could have even pictured from, you know, what we see in the Bible and other things like that. So, for sure. Jeff says, soul sparks or great all within most of us. Yes. Yep. Lemonella says, what's going to happen with the deep state? Well, I don't know. I'm so bad at censoring myself on this. This is why I'm so shadow banned. What's going to happen with the DS? Will we be living in a parallel universe where we both exist at once? I think that that's very possible. I think we could see, I mean, okay, let me kind of put it in terms that make the most sense to me. I think about the law of one. The law of one, if you're not familiar with that, is a set of channelings from the 1980s. And you can go to lawofone.info and read all about this and read it for free. But the law of one, to me, has outlined so many accuracies and understandings of the world that have expanded my consciousness and helped me to really just see things for more of what they are. And in the Law of One, they talk about how we are moving from the third to the fourth density. Third density being human life like we know it, like we have known it. Second density being animal life. First density being rocks, minerals, these kind of things. Fourth density we have not seen yet, but it's what we would kind of attribute to like what we would see as gods in the movies, more supernatural kinds of powers that we would only kind of genuinely ascribe to god-like figures. But this will be something that the entire human race will inevitably have access to, with the consciousness being at that level. And when they talk about the shift from third to fourth density, it is described as essentially an increase in polarization. This is the way that I've interpreted it, where the third density is the one where we become the most polarized moving into fourth density. And what I mean by that is we have, in the third density, we have polarity at the utmost level within the same sphere of influence. So we can have, where we can live in a world where, you know, we are, you know, the people that are here are what we would call service to others, very service to the planet, very, you know, just good, Jedi-like, for lack of better terms, right? And then in those same context, you have the Sith, you have the service to self beings, you have this 1% who are only feeding themselves. And we're able to coexist on the same planet, sometimes even in the same neighborhoods, right? In the same schools, in the same companies, where good and evil are so close to each other in a single space-time. And that is something that I think is very unique to Earth as well. And so when we're moving into this fourth density space, we are finding that the polarities are getting increased between those two levels. So it seems like the good is getting more good in the world and the bad is getting more bad. And that's what we're kind of seeing play out every day. When we do eventually become a full integrated fourth density species, it won't be like that anymore. Polarity will still exist within the universe, but within our local sphere of influence on our planet, in our day-to-day life, as a human collective, we will not be split anymore. We will have integrated into what I firmly believe it will be the positive, the service to other frequency, the green ray heart chakra frequency. And on the flip side, there are other places that are polarizing in the negative, and that's what this kind of battle is here for. So I think that in the fourth density, we become our most polarized as a collective, but within our collective, the polarity goes away. So we will all be service to others, we will all be good, we will all be kind-hearted and servicing the planet. Now, there will still be negative beings out there in the multiverse and the universe, right? So that polarity doesn't go away, but within our planet, we will have purity of vibration. And I think on the road there, we see that split start to happen more and more until eventually the polarity that doesn't win, the negative polarity, the service to self polarity, disappears and dissipates in some way or another, where basically the vibrations and the vibrational frequency that the positive beings, these beings of service to the planet and to others, are bringing here becomes so overwhelmingly strong in love and vibration that these negative beings just can't be around it anymore. They can't survive, and they either just die off or they have to go somewhere else. This is kind of how I feel it is. And so I think on the way there, we could see this further splitting where there is a coexistence still of the good and the evil on the planet, and we're seeing this bifurcation, but eventually it won't be that way anymore. But until that point, it could get more intense, and I think that's what we're seeing. So who knows, like maybe we'll see the negative forces on the planet be outcast to a particular physical location, like a particular country or a particular land mass or something, where that's the only place they can survive anymore. But eventually, I think that'll go away. So hopefully that answers your question. So let's talk about let's talk about mind, body, and spirit, and then we can bring it back full circle to the financial stuff and how this plays into all of it. Um, and let's start with body, because that's what I personally have been going through the most in my transformations over the past year, especially. I've seen I've seen an activation in what I'm being called to do for my body and the healing of my body in 2022, more so than any year that I've lived so far. 2022 has definitely been the most intense and activating and challenging growth for myself within my physical vessel. And for me, that's played out in the form of going through several different, I guess you could loosely say, like, health issues, even though I don't really like to view it that way. Things that are not connected, so it's not like some underlying thing, but things that just pop up that have forced me to really, well, for one, take a step back and look at things differently, but also have a far greater appreciation for my physical being and my physical vessel. And so I just kind of loosely go through it. I started out I started out 2022 having a skiing injury where I hurt my knee pretty good, and it forced me to slow down. It forced me to take a step back and not be so, I guess, in my mind. It forced me to take a look at my body where I had been ignoring it before, and then almost immediately give me a deeper sense of appreciation and gratitude for the parts of my body that were working. It's like, but you know, you could be healthy and then you hurt a part of your body and you have this sense of gratitude for it that you didn't have before, because you never had the perspective of, you know, having that part of your body not work. So like I was struggling to like walk normally for a couple months because of my knee injury, and I was like, wow, like I'm so much more grateful for having my mobility, for having, you know, working joints and muscles and all this. And eventually that went away, and like it's not giving me any problems anymore, and it taught me a whole bunch of stuff. The second kind of thing that I went through was um, cleansing my body. And this is something I want to do more talking about and sharing my experience, because it helped me a lot when I was listening to other people sharing their experiences with this and going through the similar kinds of things. And I want to be able to help people with that where I've struggled and where I felt like I could use more guidance. And for me, the cleansing of my body from, I guess loosely you could just say pathogens, parasites, fungal overgrowth, you know, candida, these kind of things, has it's been one of the most challenging things that I've gone through. And I don't say that lightly. It's been really, really hard. But I've also done some of the most heavy growth in a physical sense when going through this that I've ever done in my life. And I'll get to more of that in a second. But so to kind of explain what I was going through with the parasite cleansing and everything, first off, I think we all have a degree of this, some way more than others, but especially for those of us that have been brought up in the American Western diet and the Western lifestyle, you know, who, if we didn't particularly have parents that were very conscious when we were growing up and were feeding us a lot of junk food. And my parents did pretty good, to be honest. Like they were, it took them a couple years, because I remember having things like Lucky Charms and things like that as a kid, but they did pretty good. Like they wouldn't let me have sodas, they wouldn't let me have candy too much, but still, like the average diet was not that great. It was full of a lot of GMO, a lot of grains, a lot of, you know, pesticide sprayed wheats and things like that. So even though our parents or whoever raised us might have done pretty good to, you know, alleviate that, there's still like a degree that it's almost like we couldn't escape from. And so for me, I think I had to detox from years of that, and then also years of a college diet. So I was pretty healthy till I went to college, and then the combination of all the stress from college and that whole system, and, you know, drinking and doing drugs and eating all this crap food, eating the college diet, which they basically spoon fed to us on meal plans, which was just horrendous things that we had to eat. I remember back then thinking it was gross, let alone now. That is what really pushed me over the edge into realizing that I needed to detox and to cleanse my body. And then on top of that, I went to China in 2018 and I got sick in China with the GI thing, and I think I picked up parasites in China. So my body at the end of 2021 especially, but leading up to then, was really just not doing great. And maybe you'll resonate with some of these symptoms, but I was having, first off, very tender GI tract, like very just like, it was always tender. I was always sore in my stomach and my intestines and my colon, like to the touch, like where you'd kind of poke at it and you're just like, oh, it's tender, like it doesn't feel good. And so because of that, I was always like hunched over, basically in pain, because I was having so much discomfort in just standing upright and being in like my empowerment, which is an interesting thing from a spiritual standpoint too, right? Like these parasites and these overgrowth make us like literally like almost go into fetal position in the kind of reaction that they give us. And that's what I felt like. I was like always like basically grabbing my stomach and hunching over. It was no way to live. And so I was having that. I was having a lot of morning nausea where I was just not feeling good. Every morning without a miss, I would have about a 5 to 10 minute wave of nausea where I just had to get through it. I didn't feel good. I would end up having like, you know, like diarrhea and stuff a lot of mornings, and just like not good, you know, GI health. And those are the main things. And then of course, energy levels and just not feeling great, feeling depressed, you know, not wanting to exercise, not wanting to get out of the house, those kind of things. And so it was like near the end of 2021 that I was like, okay, I'm gonna basically make my first attempts to actually do something for this and cleanse my body. And I saw my wife Alexis had gotten like parasite cleanse, and she had taken it and was seeing some results and passing some pathogens and stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this. And I tend to do things my own way because I just, maybe it's my astrology or just who I am, but I've never really, I don't know, I just like doing things my own way. And so instead of taking like the, you know, the little pills that people will give you with all the parasite herbs and the regimen, I was like, I'm gonna do my own regimen. I'm gonna do it my own way. And there were good and bad things to that. So I basically started with, I started with a little bits of, I don't know how to say this without getting censored, but ClO2, if you know what that is. I started with little bits of ClO2 and had results with that, but I kind of was getting, you know, I was getting the vibe that I wanted to do it more naturally than ClO2. Thank you, Joel, for putting that in the comments. I did get good results with that though, but I was like, I wanted to do it more natural. So I went and did a bunch of research, and I found like garlic, and I found wormwood, and I found apple cider vinegar and pumpkin seeds and all this stuff. So I started to take those more regularly. I started intermittent fasting. That was a huge part of it. I started doing like, you know, 24-hour fasts as well, things like that. And I was seeing pretty good improvement like right away. Like my bowel movements, I was passing things that were, you know, basically shouldn't have been in my body, and I could tell that they shouldn't be in my body. Candida, things like that. And then I went a little bit too hard, and I basically, one night I was like battling with these things in my mind, because these parasites create all this chit chat in your mind. They create all this noise that prevents you from being able to meditate. Like if you've ever tried sitting down and just having, you know, silence, and you're just hearing a million things a second, like thoughts racing through your brain. A lot of that is the parasites. They will just fill your brain with chatter, with annoying thoughts, with things that you're like, why the heck am I thinking about this? These are not my thoughts. So I was dealing with that one night when I was fasting, and I was like, I'm done with this. I'm done with you guys. Like, I'm gonna fucking kill you all, basically. And so I ate I was eating raw garlic at the time. I ate like 2 cloves of raw garlic. I drank a bunch of ACV. I took some wormwood all at once, and it was too much. It was too much on my system, and I had a massive die-off. Now, normally with these die-offs, you can get what are called Herc symptoms, and these Herc symptoms are when you basically, these pathogens in our bodies, they are full of toxins. They produce toxins as waste, and their bodies are full of toxins. So when you kill these pathogens, whether it's worms or candida or fungal, whatever, they release these they release these toxins into your body. And so it's very normal to get like flu-like symptoms, to get things like rashes, skin rashes, reactions that you would typically associate with like allergies or being sick. But what I got was horrible. And so I did this at like 2 or 3 in the morning, which is when they're the most active. And I don't recommend you do it this way. Don't do it this way. I took all these things at once is what I did wrong. And I did it while I was fasting. And it was too potent. And I basically killed all these things off really fast. And I went to sleep at 3 a.m. I woke up at 7 a.m. feeling like I was dying. I was in the worst pain I'd ever been in. I was falling to the ground. I felt like I was going to have a seizure. I literally felt like my organs were shutting down and I was about to die. And I got through it only because of enemas in the moment. I truly believe that's what actually saved me, is doing a water enema and getting this dead, stuff out of my body, because it's basically sitting in the colon and the colon's absorbing all these toxins from these dead pathogens. I did an enema, I flushed it out, immediate relief, like immediately felt better. Not completely better, but I was definitely not continuing in the direction of dying at that moment. I was like, oh, I have relief. And over the next 2 months especially, I was really dealing with the fallout from that decision that I made, which, if I were to go back and do it differently, it's hard to say if I would, because I definitely don't want to experience what I experienced then, and I don't want anyone else to experience that on the level of the die-off that I had. But I'm also kind of glad that I just plowed through it in a way. But I also feel like it was really dangerous what I did, so I wouldn't recommend people do it that way. Take it slow and easy is my recommendation. Slowly ramp up these anti-parasite to antifungal things in your body. Make slow changes to your diets as you see progress. Don't try to plow through it. But overall, I'm sitting here now and feeling way better than I have felt in years. I'm like, well, I'm grateful. I should say it that way. Even though I would have done it differently, I'm grateful that I got through it. And it really took me the past 6 months. This was in February when this happened. It took me the past 6 months of continuing my healing process and not going back on it, and making those slow adjustments in my diet, cutting out the grains, especially cutting out corn, cutting out wheat, cutting out rice, for a while cutting out most of my carbs, kind of going more keto, going more carnivore. Actually really helped my gut heal, because especially after what I did, my body was in this state of damage where it was needing to replenish itself. And they say you are what you eat, and there's this whole science behind eating the parts, in a carnivore sense, eating the parts of the animal body that correlate to where you need health. And I'm not saying at all carnivore is sustainable long term. I've since have a more balanced diet now. But in those moments where my body was needing it, I could not eat vegetables. I could not eat fruit. It would literally make me sick. My body, my leaky gut, whatever I was going through, was unable to process those foods. And so it might be controversial for some people, especially if you're vegan or vegetarian. But having been vegan and vegetarian and years ago, that was the initial start of what contributed to my inevitable issues. And I'm not saying that you can't be vegan and vegetarian and do it right. I definitely believe there's people out there who can do it and that their bodies are more meant for it. I think really what it comes down to with food is everybody's different and everybody's body needs different things. But what I found was that the more ketogenic and carnivore heavy diet, when I was going through those specific issues with my gut and needing to replenish my intestinal lining and my organs and all that, eating a lot of red meat was really the only thing that helped get me through that and helped replenish. And for a while, it was really the only thing I could eat that would actually go down and like not make me sick. So I was having like steak every day. I was having um, pretty much majority like steak and like liver was really good. I was doing a lot of liver, and I still trying to do a lot of liver. But these things really replenished my gut. And now, months later, I'm able to eat those foods again that I had to take a break from. So I'm able to eat vegetables and fruit again, which I'm so grateful for, especially fruit, because I love fruit. And if it was my choice right now, like if I could choose to only eat, if I could eat just whatever I wanted and my body would be totally okay with it, I would probably just eat like fruits and nuts. But I don't believe personally I'm at that point yet from what I've seen with my body. So this is where I really recommend you listen to your body, listen to what you need, listen to what your body's asking for. I really don't talk about this diet stuff often because I know it's so controversial, but I know that some people out there are really going to benefit from this too. And I think it's really important to just listen to your body and what it needs. And a lot of people who go vegan, vegetarian for many years, maybe, you know, I don't know, I'm not going to pretend to know exactly what it is, but I think DNA is a big part of it. Also, the other toxins in our lives, from our environments and everything. But I think that there is a healing power to all foods, including meat. And so if you're feeling that and you're like, wow, maybe, you know, my mind has been telling me don't eat this because of this regimen or this diet or whatever, but your body is craving something, especially something nutritious, try it and see how you react to it, and do it in moderation. But that is what really helped heal my gut after the cleansing from the parasites and stuff, was things like bone broth, the collagen in the bone broth really helping, you know, replenish that intestinal lining and everything. And genuinely now, for the first time in like 6-7 years, I can say I have no gut pain. And what does come up every once in a while, I'm able to adjust pretty well with my diet. But like, I'm not waking up in pain anymore. And I was struggling with that so hard for so many years, where it was just like life was so hard to get through because my gut was always in pain and suffering and not acclimating to the things that I wanted to eat. And it really took not just like one parasite cleanse or one juice cleanse or whatever, but being consistent and diligent and working at it and knowing that, you know, what I wanted my long-term goal to be in terms of how I wanted my body to feel, and having the confidence that my body could feel good again. And it feels so good to finally be there. And I don't see myself at the finish line because I don't think there is a finish line for this kind of stuff. It's just always a work in progress. You know, we're aging, and as we age, our bodies are changing as well. And so there's always adjustments that need to be made for keeping healthy and staying refreshed and cleansed. And especially with all the toxins in the world, there's so many toxins out there that we need to, you know, kind of be on our bodies about staying refreshed and cleansed. And that doesn't mean you need to be in cleanse mode all the time, because that's not good for you either. But having a moderation of, you know, eating things that are healthy and nutritious for you, going on cleanses, doing fasts every once in a while, and just approaching life with a sense of moderation. And that's where, too, going back to this vegan carnivore thing, this is kind of a split in the collective consciousness right now too. And it's not about good or evil, because I see great people on both sides and probably bad people on both sides too, if that's even a thing. But like, there's a lot of really smart people on both the carnivore and vegan side of things that talk about the benefits of both. And I do believe that both have benefits in their own respect. But I think for most people, the moderation route, the middle route, is going to be the thing that works best for most people. And you might need to go to one side or the other to kind of cleanse your body. Like if you've been doing too heavy of processed meats for a while, if you've been, you know, eating a lot of, you know, junk meats, that's the main problem with the meat industry, is like the heavily processed, you know, these mega slaughterhouses. Like the vegans are right when they talk about the energy of the meats in these facilities that are doing all this stuff. Like that's true. So when you do eat meat for healing, you want to make sure that it's ethically sourced. You want to make sure it's grass-fed, grass-finished. You want to make sure it's organic if possible, pasture raised. Make sure these animals are having a good life. And this is what our ancestors have done for thousands of years. This is what the Native Americans have done for thousands of years. And they had balance with the spiritual realm when consuming the meats that they were consuming. It was an initiation to be able to go out on like your first hunt as a native, as an indigenous person. You would talk to the animals, you would talk to the spirit, the collective consciousness of the beings that you were going to consume. And regardless of if it's meat or veggies or fruit or whatever, life consumes other life, right? Like life and death is a big circle of life. It's a big vortex. And we, I think, have to find peace in that, within this realm at least, of realizing that life consumes life. And, whether that's the life of plants or the life of animals. And, there's arguments as far as like, well, plants are less conscious than animals. I don't think that's true, honestly. Even in law of one terms, to kind of come back to the law of one, the plants are second density life forms, just like animals. And I think that they are just as aware, in some ways even more aware than animals. And it is proven scientifically through the Baxter experiment that when you kill a plant with the intention of eating it without praying over it first, it screams. Like, it sets off these huge signals that you can pick up on scientific devices where they're screaming. And not only that, but the plants in the surrounding area scream. So if you chop up a plant in front of other plants, the plants around it will set off this alarm. Look up the Baxter experiment if you haven't heard of this. So I think this is, the same thing applies with meat, that whatever we're consuming, veggies, meats, fruits, seeds, whatever, they're all sentient, and we have to realize that. And it's not about not eating things because they're sentient. It's about praying and having, this is my opinion, by the way, 100% my opinion. I think it's about praying and having a connection to life and to source God and to everything in your environment, that you are essentially being at one with the things that you're consuming, and you're not consuming with gluttony, you're not consuming with greed, you're not consuming unconsciously, which is the main problem with whatever you're eating that I think our society faces today, is unconsciously engaging with the things that we are eating. And so if you pray over your food, if you connect with it, if you connect with God and the earth and source energy and the sun before you consume a meal, you put your hands over it. This is what I do. I pray over it. I'm grateful for it. I think that inherently changes and positively affects the vibrational output of the food. And so, yeah, that's a bit of a little rant, but let me check the comments real quick. Joel says, my body's asking for more XRP. Empty plate. Well, and there's actually something to that too, in terms of like, kind of bringing this back to the financial side of things in a body sense. Money is just a different form of energy exchange. So just like eating, it's an energy exchange, right? Energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's just transferred. Money's the same way, and money is our like almost expression of our life force energy and our value that we are bringing in a non-physical sense to the world. And so there is definitely a dynamic that is very similar to like what we were talking about with eating in the financial sphere as well, where you are, at least from what I've noticed, the more that you're grateful, the more that you're praying, the more that you're being of service in the things that you do, the more of that energy that you're going to attract into your life. And this is where previously me and a lot of other people out there too, I know, have demonized money in general. And they've taken this concept of what is normally a pure, in its purest sense, an energetic exchange between you and God, and you and the other versions of God that are around you, other selves. And they've demonized that inherently and made it toxic. And it would be kind of akin to, making anything else with the mind, body, spirit a toxic thing inherently. What was really toxic was the service to self entities and systems that were in place messing with that inherent energy flow. I kind of picture it like, if a healthy economic field is like a torus, just like everything else, just like the mind, body, and spirit, the economy in terms of our non-physical energy and our ways to engage with each other with non-physical things and physical things is like a torus field. And we had parasites in this torus field. We had big banks, we had central banks, we had governments, we had, billionaires who were self-serving, big corporations that were parasites. And it's not that money is bad, it's that they have manipulated these systems to make it serve themselves. And it makes the little guy like us want to look at that whole thing and go, that's evil. But truthfully, it's not the energy exchange itself. We're going to continue exchanging energy in one form or another. We're going to continue, trading crops for other resources, trading time for value in one form or another. And this new quantum financial system, as we're calling it, just kind of a colloquial term. Maybe I don't use that in the same terms as other influencers out there, but I still like that energy, quantum financial system, because I really think that it, in its purest sense, it is going to purify the way that we engage with energy and value exchange on the planet. And it's going to create a quantum instant nature to our reality in terms of energy exchange and value transfer that will allow us to become our most embodied of service, to each other, to the planet type of beings. And this is where, I myself included, I know a lot of people get trapped in this idea of money is inherently evil. We can live without money. We can, I know a lot of people, including myself, have gone that route. Like, I lived in a van for a year with Alexis where we had no money. We had like no money. Like, it was so hard. We were living on barely anything coming in month to month. We were constantly having to ask for donations, like, making videos and being like, please donate. Like, it was just not a good way to live. And, maybe some people make that work where they can work on a farm or do something where they don't have to engage with money at all. But the money is still an active part of their lives, right? Like, if you're, say, for instance, working on a farm in another country and they're paying for you, they're still paying for you, right? So you're still engaging with the money. I remember there was a scene in one of the Marvel movies recently, like Doctor Strange or something, where the Asian guy that runs he's like the head wizard that Doctor Strange works with. He was like, yeah, I don't work with money anymore, but can you buy me a sandwich? Like, and so there's like this parasitic energy that starts to envelop people who choose not to work with money because God has willed money to be an active a part of this reality. And if you deny that, then you're denying part of your existence in this realm. And I believe that, every spiritual person, every person that is on the path of expansion of their consciousness has had to work and deal with this in some way, where maybe we tried to completely cut that out of our lives, cut money out and be like, we can live, without money. And, unless you're going to go like live on a farm with just you and your commune by itself and make your crops and not export or import anything, it's very, very hard. And that limits other spiritual expansion opportunities as well. Like, it kind of begs the question, what's the point of that? If you're going to isolate yourself from society and just be you, what's the point of even coming to Earth and interacting with people? You're going to have to work with money in one form or another. And I've been in the position, I've seen many other people on this path be in the position where they've been like, no, I don't work with money, but can you buy me something? Can you get me this thing? Can you be the one that deals with the system while I'm going to step aside and just like try to avoid it? It's not going to be the case anymore. And fortunately, I'm seeing so many people come into sovereignty with this, and especially with like personal businesses, whether you're working with a business that's more conscious, or you're quitting your 9 to 5 to pursue something else, or you're doing something that is basically, even if you're working a 9 to 5, like, that's still fine, because you're generating that for yourself. You're not reliant upon someone else who's going to do that for you. But eventually, I think we're all going to find this financial freedom in one form or another. And that doesn't mean we all have to run our own businesses, because if everybody ran their own business, that would be a weird world too, because there's other things that have to be done. Like, those businesses have to have people that work for them. But this is where I believe this is all being flushed out and purified. And I'm not going to pretend to know what the end goal is with that, but I do see the transformation happening in real time. And I encourage people to just take sovereignty with that in whatever way that you can. And I think most people are, honestly. Most people that are watching this, I think, are already tuned into that. And they're either investing in this new financial system and actively making that a path of their destiny, or they're starting their own business, or they're working with a conscious business, or they're somehow involved in the newer paradigm of how money is going to work, where it's more of this pure Taurus field and not this parasitic thing. So yeah. Mike P says, peace to Cosmic Origins and Company. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And that's like, that was what I was going to get into earlier with, like, saying how, even though I've been through, this year has been my hardest year by far, with the challenges that I've been through, especially health-wise, but it stacks up mentally and spiritually as well. All kind of, bleeds into each other. But creating, expanding and creating, like, my coaching business, for instance, I've done more with that than I ever have for myself in years. Like, I felt so lost years ago, especially when I was in college, and I was like, just like not feeling it. I was so miserable in college. I was miserable with the idea of like having to go work for some aerospace company making weapons, and like having an office job. And like, I was just like, I hated it. And that's where I chose to leave that world. I literally dropped out of college my 5th year. I was gonna graduate in like a year or two. I didn't want to, so I dropped out. I was also in a really toxic relationship, which was overwhelming at the time. And so I left the relationship, I left college, and I went off to do my own thing. I took that big risk. I basically embodied the Fool card in tarot. And that, when I took that risk, is when everything else started coming together. And there were definitely challenges along the way, but that's when I really put myself out there and detached from the system, is when the universe started working in my favor. So that's when I met Alexis. That's when Alexis and I started traveling. We traveled like all over, like Canada and here. We did so much driving, and it was like so good for my psyche and my mind, and taking a break from the systems that I had been in. And even when we were struggling with money, it was still like peace on me. Like, the traveling and not dealing with money as much was hugely peaceful. But there was only so much of that I could take too. And so after traveling in a van for a year and basically being broke, and literally, you guys, like, we'd have less than literally, like, we'd have less than like $20 in our bank account at sometimes. And like, the most we'd ever have is like a couple $100 for like that whole year. And it was peaceful in a sense. Like, I basically had to make peace with that in order to expand to where I'm at now, where now I'm basically on the verge of doing better for myself than I would have in an entry-level aerospace engineering position. So to go from being homeless in a van with less than $20, less than $10 in my bank account sometimes, to now being on track to doing better in a year than I would have in a professional engineering job, I'm so grateful for that. And I'm not saying that to like be like, look at me. I'm saying that to be like, look at what I was able to do and what anyone could do. Like, I was homeless. I had no income. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea where my life was going to go, but I had faith in God. And this brings it to the spirit part of it, mind, body, spirit. I had faith in the divine plan. I had faith in myself. And I knew that if I kept taking one step at a time and holding that vision in my head, not knowing exactly what the vision was, but the feeling of being prosperous and of being successful, but in a full body, mind, body, spirit sense, not just financial, but like successful, fulfilled, like that kind of success, which is a totally different kind of success than financial success, because so many people get financial success and they're not fulfilled. They don't have spirit. They don't have a balance of their mind and body. and they let those pillars go. And you know, how many like millionaires and billionaires out there are like super depressed and addicted to drugs and prostitutes and all this stuff because they didn't get this stuff in order first. So this is where I feel like my path has been to guide me to get this, the mind, body, and spirit in check before my finances were allowed to finally like prosper in the way that I wanted them to. And with the spirit side of things, I really had to stay faithful, even when I only had 20 bucks in my account and we didn't know where we were going to eat the next day. We didn't know where we were going to sleep. You know, we were sleeping in like neighborhoods in our van and stuff. And that was really hard. It was really hard. But I had faith in God, and I had faith in Alexis and I as a couple and as a fractal of God. And I knew we were going to be okay. And I knew that we were taken care of in a divine sense. And that's what got me through it. And then, you know, coming into that was the year of 2019. Then just to kind of fill in the blanks a little bit, after that year of living in the van, we came to Sedona several times, and we were like, wow, we really love it here. And I wish we could live here. I don't know how we're going to make it happen, but I wish we could. And so I literally, like, every time we were in Sedona passing through, I was praying, and I would go out in the Red Rocks, and I would be alone, and I would pray, and I'd say, please, like, I want to live here. I love it here. I want to be of service here. I want to help the community. I want to help myself. I want to heal. And this is just my favorite place that I've been to so far. And we're building friends here. We have a good community. I really would like to like create roots here. And then January 2020 came around, right before the madness of everything hit, and we ended up at my parents', not knowing what we were gonna do in the van. And then literally like one day on Facebook, somebody was like, hey, I need somebody to take over my lease in like 2 days because I gotta move out. It's an emergency in Sedona. And so we were like, whoa. And literally in the next 2 days, we drove out to Sedona from California, got a place secured, and it was just like a miracle. It was like in our financial range, which is crazy for Sedona too, but we made it work, and it was like, it was literally a miracle. And so from then I was able to go into this different stage of my initiation where I was able to focus on other parts of my life. And living in the van had been really liberating and freeing, but also really heavy and really exhausting. And so to have a physical house now that we were able to relax and not have to figure out where we were going to sleep every night, where we were going to eat every day, brought on this new experience of healing. And this was right before the pandemic hit too. So we literally got the place like the month before shit went crazy. And I'm so grateful for that. And it was so divine. And basically all 2020 and most of 2021, we were just resting. Like we basically gave ourselves permission to like just rest and heal from all the traveling and all that exhaustion that we had been through. 2020 was a lot of that, a lot of just being introverted, a lot of sleeping in, a lot of not going out, a lot of collecting animals. So like we started to build our tribe because, you know, we had our one dog, but then we just kept falling in love with like other animals. Like we got our cat after that, and then we got another dog, and then our birds and everything. And then 2021, after kind of a year of rest, is when the financial stuff really started to take over in my life. And it's when I found this new passion within the context of everything else that I was already passionate about, with disclosure, with our awakening, with our collective awakening, but also not being able to find where my niche was in that, in terms of, you know, hey, like what can I do to do this, but also make an income on? Because I hated asking for donations. Like I hated making videos and being like, please donate because we need it. And I'm so grateful for everyone that did contribute to us in that time, because it's what got us through. And that was part of my humility as well with that initiation, was like realizing it was okay to ask for help and being at peace with asking for help. That was a huge part of it, because it's not that was bad. It was actually that I believe it was to show us that, like, you know, it is okay to ask for help, especially when you're in a time where you need it. And that was very humbling. And I'm so appreciative to everybody out there who helped us financially and in other ways at that time, who let us stay at their house or who fed us or whatever over those years. And after getting through that and releasing these fears around money still, because it was a lot of that, releasing fears around where's my income kind of come from? How do I know I'm going to be successful like in a couple years or this year or whatever? Just being at peace with all that is really what allowed this next stage of my like dharma, and you could say career, but I don't really see it as a career as much as it is like my service and my dharma, but in seeing how this new financial system was coming, and for once in my life resonating with something financial, because my entire life I had never resonated with that. I had been terrified of ever getting a mortgage or of working with the banks. I've still never had a credit card. I've still never had a bank account. Somehow I was able to get by without those things. But it was intimidating. And then when I first heard about crypto, you guys probably heard me talk about this a lot, but when I first heard about crypto, I was turned off by it because it was Bitcoin and Ethereum that everyone was talking about, and I didn't get good vibes about those, and I still don't. But that's what they were putting out there, right? That was the optics of crypto. And so I was immediately turned off. And then basically one day in a super synchronistic situation where we're hanging out with some really cool people, that all these downloads were coming through in one night. And then somebody told me about XRP, had a 17 synchronicity. It was at 17 cents when he told me about it. And I was just like, whoa, it changed my whole paradigm in an instant on crypto, because the intuitive part of me, my spirit, resonated with it in a way that I did not resonate with Bitcoin, and I did not resonate with Ethereum. I resonated with XRP, and something in my whole beingness was like, yes, there is something to this that you are supposed to be involved in and eventually teach others about, which is what I didn't know in the moment. But I knew that I had to trust my intuition, because it was the same intuition and the same guidance that I had listened to in the years previous that got me through every obstacle that I had been through. And so many times over these years too, I've had situations where I did not listen to my intuition and I was basically punished for it, or I saw some opportunity get away from me where I was like, fuck, I should have listened to my intuition. Like, why didn't I listen to my intuition? Because I let somebody else or some other world event or my mind or whatever talk me out of it. And so I learned to listen to my intuition and to hone my intuition. And with that, I was like, there's something to this, and I'm going to invest. So I basically threw everything I had into XRP, everything that I had. I basically invested it. And it was the perfect timing, because I bought the major dip of the COVID crash when XRP was like 19 cents I was first buying in. And then over the following months, it went up, 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 and I ended up making tens of thousands of dollars on a very small few $1,000 investment, because I followed my intuition. And I went, holy shit, I just made more money than I've ever made in my whole life because of this opportunity. And I followed my intuition, and I didn't let myself talk myself out of it logically. And I didn't let, my family or whoever like influence these decisions. And I was so grateful for that. And then that's when I started being able to teach other people. And I was like, whoa, now all of a sudden I have something of value that I feel like I can share with other people. And I don't feel guilty about having an energetic exchange. Whereas when I would do videos in the past, like I said, I always felt guilty about like being like, hey, can you somehow pay me for what I'm talking about? Like, I don't want you guys to pay me for what I'm talking about right now. This is my service to you guys and to the world and for whoever's hanging out. And I want it to stay that way. But when I had this other thing, particularly because it was financial, I felt right, and I felt it was at peace with God that I could say charge for my assistance. And it was because it was something financial to begin with. So it's like, I'm basically helping you make more money, so I feel okay asking for money in return. And when I was at peace with that, and when I realized the whole context of that I could keep making videos and doing them for free and not have a Patreon paywall or anything like that, and talking about the things that really, really matter, like mind, body, and spirit, and cultivating these and growing and basically sharing my experiences and hoping that there's other people out there that will be able to get something from it, like I've gotten from so many other people. I wanted to keep that pure and not like, I wanted that to just be my service. And so when this other opportunity came about, it felt so good that I could have my job, that I could have this value transfer that felt more pure and more just in alignment in all senses, that I was like, okay, I I can, I can have something that fulfills all of this, where I can have my service and I can have this other service that has still an energy exchange. And that's what really helped me get to that next level of feeling that balance and fulfillment in my life, and bringing this clarity to this area for so long, that I had been like, hey, I'm so passionate about sharing my ideas and my thoughts, and being a part of disclosure movements and conferences and all this, but I didn't like the money part of it, and I didn't like seeing how the money had corrupted so much of those movements, those conferences and disclosure movements, and these big, conscious companies that make, tons and tons of money, like, the biggest ones that you think of, like Gaia.com and things like that, that have a lot of, you know, controversy around them. So it just felt really good, and it felt like that I finally had this sense of security and balance in that. And I think a big part of this too is like the chakra activation from the bottom up. So I started realizing back when I was traveling with Alexis that we were both having these chakra activations from the root moving upwards. And it was like we were having each chakra go through a lesson or an activation that would initiate us into the next level of our activation. So I remember, for instance, when I was in China, that I did this thing, and you guys look this up real quick right now. Look up China Huashan, Huashan plank walk. Huashan plank walk, Huashan. It's basically like, just literally go Google it real quick. If you've got like another thing open, don't leave the stream. But if you've got another thing open, or write it down. But China plank walk, it's literally like in these sacred mountains of China, which are near it's near the terracotta soldiers, if you guys are familiar with that, which is also where the Chinese pyramids are. So I went and I visited the giant pyramid in China, which is at these terracotta soldiers. Had this activation that I didn't even realize until I came back, that it was a pyramid. They don't tell you about that when you're there. They just say it's a temple, but it's a pyramid surrounded by a moat of liquid mercury. So I'm there. I even have a video of myself talking about it there. Before I knew it was a pyramid, I just knew it was a liquid mercury moat. Then we went to this Huashan Mountains, which are one of these 5 or 7 sacred mountain ranges in China. One of like only a few. It's like 5, 6, or 7. And it literally feels like the air temples in Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you've been to those, there's these temples that are built into the hills, like thousands of feet up. It's like 7,000 feet up. And there was this thing called the plank walk, where there's this plank walk that's built by just this super janky, like couple 2x4s, like nailed together on the cliff's rock, with like literally a 5,000 foot drop. And all you've got is this little harness and a carabiner, and there's like dozens of people going back and forth, back in both directions on this little plank walk that you can't even, it's like as wide as your shoulders. It's like not very wide. And I was terrified to do this thing. I was terrified. But something told me deep within me, this is an activation for your root chakra and overcoming your fears. And it was like, if you do this now, your life will open up in ways that you can't even fathom. But it wasn't just that, it was that I knew that if I didn't do it, something more challenging and more scary would present itself in my life that I had to overcome. So it was like, okay, I can do this now, and this is, fun and a good story, and like, I'm in another country, and like, there's a joyous aspect to it too. Or if I don't do this, I may have to face an equally terrifying experience or greater that is not as fun. So I made the choice. I was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to, build up this confidence in me and my root chakra, and I'm going to do this plank walk. I'm going to walk over a 5,000 foot drop on these janky little things, and hopefully it's all good. And it was all good. And I didn't even have the the shakes or trembling in me that I thought I would, like I have struggled with in the past when I'm like scared. Like it wasn't like a panic attack. It was like I was fully embodied. I was in it and I was enjoying it. And what's crazy is I got the whole thing on camera, and then that specific file is just deleted. Like it's gone. Like when I go back into my camera recordings from China, that is the only file that's missing, where I'm doing this plank walk, and on my GoPro, it's on my chest. It's very weird. But that basically was a major initiation for me in my root chakra. And it was after that that I met Alexis for the first time. It was like literally the next month that I flew out to see her, and we went on this crazy multi-month adventure. And I want to stress like how powerful and empowering these experiences can be when we're faced with an initiation like this, where we feel fear or we feel something that's correlated to one of the chakras, and we have this voice of God within us that says, you can do this, and I've got your back, I support you, I love you, and it may be a little scary, but like you can get through this, and it's gonna help expand you into your next stage of life. And from that point on our travels, I felt each of my chakras get activated in different initiations. Some that were more obvious in the moment than others, some upon reflection I noticed them, but it was like legit, like the red ray, the root chakra, the orange ray, the sexual creative energy, the yellow ray, the confidence, the personal empowerment, the green ray, the heart, the blue ray, speaking your voice, making your vote heard essentially in the universe, speaking your truth, the third eye, seeing past the illusions, and then the crown being the kind of the accumulation of all the energies in streaming and outstreaming from the universe. I went through basically an activation for each one. And I kind of saw it happening on the collective level too, which was trippy. I remember looking, like making videos actually at the time that I don't think we ever uploaded, about how I was seeing this activation that was happening internally reflected on the masses. And this was way before COVID or anything. And I would think now with this, that the COVID is almost like the third eye part of it, because we're seeing past the illusion on the collective level. And back at that time in like 2018, I was feeling that the collective was on the root chakra, sacral chakra level, which if in the law of one, they say that the collective consciousness of Earth, we're supposed to be in yellow ray as the third density, because each color of the chakras correlates to, I'm seeing 22 right now too, 22 people in the chat and 22 likes. Now there's 23 people, so we got to get another like to make it 23. So I was seeing this happen on the collective level, and I was seeing like the orange ray in particular, I remember at the time, in myself, and then on the collective level. And I was like, I think we're going to witness this over the coming years, us kind of go through each chakra. And I don't know if I can necessarily pinpoint like every chakra to like a world event over the past few years, because I think maybe there's fractals to this too, where we go through mini cycles of going through the chakras, and then we go back and we do it again as a collective on a bigger level with bigger events. So it's like increasing the fractal, if that makes any sense. But I feel like this whole pandemic thing has been a big third eye opener for the collective. And then if we really are about to go through some crazy world event, reset kind of thing, that could be the crown chakra really getting like wide, blown open basically for people. And I don't know if I like the word blown open as far as like the energy of that, but activated and opened up. So anyway, yeah, let's take a look at comments. What's up, Cassandra? Good to see you. Oh man, so many comments. You guys are awesome. Joel, you're so funny. Okay, going back, we're gonna cycle back on some of the topics going through these comments. And this will, for the people that are just joining now too, it'll give you a little bit of a extra. Wow, we've been going over an hour already. Man, time fucking flies. Okay, so going back to the kind of diet thing we were talking about earlier, Joel said, I feel like there are some health benefits to ordering your steak a little bloody. And yeah, that's a weird, interesting thing from because I know you said not to sound too Illuminati, right? Because there's this, obviously, like this social conditioning or this social stigma, or I don't know what the most accurate word would be, but like that blood or the consumption of blood is inherently evil, which obviously in the terms of like the, cannibalistic ritual, like of course that's its own thing. But blood is a natural thing that we've consumed for thousands of years within the context of eating animals and of all, every native tribe. And maybe I'm wrong. If you know of a native tribe that were vegans or vegetarians, that'd be very interesting and I would love to know. But every native indigenous tribe culture that I've seen, they consumed the local meat. And if you look at like the Inuits in like the poles, they ate like only meat, only like meat and blubber, because they couldn't grow vegetables up there. So, you know, if we're going to say that the consumption of meat, if people are going to say that that's evil within itself, then it's basically saying like all our history has been evil, that all these tribes that were so connected to source and God were inherently evil, which I don't think is true. But I do think maybe there is a truth to evolving out of this diet on a collective level and getting to a place where we don't need it. But as Joel's saying, I think there is health benefits to, say, like eating, you know, not only like meats and organs and stuff, but that, that's got the blood in it. And like I said, the parts of these like animal bodies, for instance, correlate to our bodies. So if we eat liver, it's good for our liver. If we eat heart, it's good for our heart. And I assume that the blood in the organs and in the meat and all that, not to be too graphic, but I assume that's good for our blood in the same context. So that, yeah, good comment. And there's people like the Liver King, who I've been following recently, who is a really fascinating individual. I first followed the Liver King because I was like, hey, this guy's kind of a dork and full of himself and like, pretty radical out there. And I was kind of judgmental of him. And the more that I've for one, I'll say when I realize that I'm judgmental of people that are like public figures, I will challenge myself to go and hyper study them to see if my judgments are accurate or if they're based in any kind of fact or if they're just purely judgments from my mind because I'm being egotistical, essentially. And when I studied the Liver King and I watched his content and I watched not just his videos, but like his interviews, like multi-hour long interviews with people. This is what I do with like Elon, with all these people who are especially controversial people. I go and I study them hardcore. I watch their energies. I watch what they're saying, everything. I just study their whole energetic being. And the Liver King is a really good dude. Like, he is a solid, heart-centered guy. And he, aside from what you may think of his diet or anything like that, and if you've never heard of the Liver King, just go look him up. He's basically a mostly carnivore, raw carnivore kind of guy. So he eats like raw liver, raw, all these organs and stuff. And, very masculine, you could say borderline toxic masculine in some sense, maybe, but masculine in terms of like the kind of traditional, like super muscular, like raw, like like that kind of thing. And he has one of the biggest hearts out of anybody I've seen in that world and in the business world and everything. He is such a solid, heart-centered dude and really wants to help people. And his whole thing is not his business, it's he wants to help people. And he's found that eating liver is the most beneficial thing that he's done to basically kickstart your health in a body way, and that it helps your mental health, it helps spirit, it helps everything. So yeah, that's he's a really interesting person to kind of follow and study when it comes to all that stuff. And again, I'm not advocating at all, if you missed the earlier part, I'm not advocating being a carnivore. I think that there are benefits to every diet, but I think overall we should first off go with what our body wants and what our body asks of us and what our body needs. And overall, I think what most people will find in balance is that moderation, right? Moderation is key, and having little bits of all kinds of foods and things, that we're consuming, even not in a diet sense, but in a media and everything. Moderation is genuinely where things are at. Now, there's some people who will find that the more radical diets, for instance, do them better. So People who, like me, were struggling with gut issues. I had SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. A lot of people are diagnosed with like Crohn's disease and other neurological things that are actually rooted in the gut. And when they find that they change their gut, in particular, what I've seen is that people who are struggling with gut microbiome and things that would normally just be classified from the mainstream health as like, you've got this disease and that's it, you got to take these pills for the rest of your life to basically deal with it. People who have said no to that find relief specifically in the carnivore diet. And you can look at people like Michaela Peterson, who's the daughter of Jordan Peterson, who had horrible autoimmune, right? So people get labeled with autoimmune and it becomes the end all be all. Oh, you have an autoimmune disease. Like, you basically have to take this pill or, do whatever. But specifically for autoimmune stuff, the carnivore diet does wonders, and the elimination diet. So not that you go carnivore forever, but you experiment with these foods and do an elimination-based diet where you take things out and you find, okay, what is my body at its base level good with? And that's where I found that like steaks were the only thing I could eat for a while when I did this elimination diet. And then I slowly started introducing other things. And now that I've healed my gut and I feel like I don't have leaky gut anymore and I'm back to feeling good, I'm able to eat this moderation of foods, of fruits, vegetables, seeds, and meat and animal products in balance that do my body well. So I think moderation is key, but also like knowing your body and what it kind of needs to heal and treating food as medicine, because food is medicine. And there's been studies done too. What's interesting about plants is like, I've heard from studies and people who really are experts on this, that all plants within themselves are toxic in one form or another. Even the plants that we can eat that are nutritious for us have certain levels of microtoxins that if you eat them in excess, they're bad for parts of the body. And that meat is not like that. Meat is not inherently toxic. Maybe processed meats, hormone meats, and all that junk, 100%. But plants and herbs are like medicine within themselves, where certain plants and vegetables and things you should only eat for basically achieving certain desired results in the body. And it's really interesting when you approach diet from that perspective of almost like every food has a purpose in what my healing path is, and every food has some trade-off, is kind of the way I see it, where, meat may help you heal your gut in one way, but too much meat is going to have a certain trade-off. Vegetables are very nutritious and help you in some ways, but too many vegetables, not enough other stuff, has trade-offs and can be overly toxic. Even water, right? Water is toxic within itself. You can die from water poisoning technically if you drink too much water. So when you look at things from that perspective, it kind of gives you a more balanced and like a appreciative sense of diet as well. And like every food is a medicine, and every food should be taken with that consciousness and not overdone. Don't indulge on any kind of food too much. Oh, they won't let me go back in the chat too far anymore. So let's see. Limonella says, what sign are you? I'm a Gemini sun in Western astrology. Joel says, ever go heavy on the sound healing frequencies? Yes, I did for a while. I haven't for a while, but that whole world of music and frequency is something I really want to get back into. Music and the healing frequencies and everything has been such a big part of my life forever. I started doing music in like 5th grade with playing trumpet, and then I played baritone, and then I played tuba all throughout high school. So music's always been a part of me. And over the past like year or two in particular, I've not paid attention to music as much, but my soul is missing it again. So it's very synchronistic that you bring that up, because the music as therapy and vibrational healing as therapy is something that is definitely trying to make its way back into my life, that I'm opening up to again, especially now that I'm running a business And I'm realizing this balance that you have to have when you're doing something that is so like left-brained or right-brained. You have to balance it with the other kind of energies. And so for people that are doing a lot of left-brained mathematical logistical stuff, music is very balancing to the brain, and I think necessary. Things that are not just music, but things that are artistic and that engage the other parts of the brain. And that's like what polymaths are. If you are familiar with the term polymath, it's kind of this more old school, like ancient term that's not used so much anymore. But polymaths were the people like Da Vinci, were the people like Plato and Galileo, who they were not only brilliant engineers and brilliant mathematical creators, but they were brilliant artists, they were brilliant musicians, they were brilliant philosophers. And I think that this is a part, like we should all strive to be the polymath in that sense of finding a sense of balance in the things that we are passionate about, and like balancing the strengths of the brain and the hemispheres of the brain, and on the mind side of things. Oh yeah, you guessed Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. I'm still catching up with the comments. I'm pretty far behind. I'm going through them though. Yeah, Gemini Sun for me. Yeah, Alyssa said, I was reading about parasites and mucoid plaque earlier today. So this is something that I've been meaning to kind of get into more as I understand it more. But the major thing I've been cleansing is these mucoid plaques, or some people will call them rope worms. And it's pretty much totally ignored by mainstream health, like completely ignored by mainstream health. But there's some kind of biofilm or candida overgrowth or a parasite within themselves that they call rope worms. And you can just look up rope worm. There's a study that a couple scientists did on them a couple years ago, a paper that you can find about it. But since I've been purging these out of my body is when I've never felt better. So whatever they are, mainstream science tries to say it's your literal intestinal lining because they associate it most with the ClO2. But that's why one of the reasons I completely stopped the ClO2, because I wanted to see if I get these results with natural things. And I was getting them with garlic and pumpkin seeds and all this stuff. And I'm still cleansing these things out of my body. It's still coming out, these mucoid plaques or rope worms or whatever. But they are totally ignored by mainstream science. And there's so much substance to this that I wish could be explored more by especially the scientific community. And everyone that's talked about cleansing them talks about how good their bodies feel when they get these things out of them. They're like, is what I picture is that they're literally caking the inner linings of our intestines and preventing optimal nutrient absorption. So it's like this layer of whatever these things are, whether it's fungal or parasite or whatever. They have different stages too. Like some of them get really long when you look at the pictures. It's really horrifying. I feel like everybody's got these in their bodies. Like maybe some very few people that are very good about their diet and their cleansing and were grown up with like good diet don't have them, but especially Americans, I feel like everybody's got this. And I think personally it's the main thing that's contributing to the majority of health problems out there that are mental, neurological, physical, joints, arthritis, like everything. It's like these things are just seeping, draining the nutrients out of us, and they're literal demons. Like to me, they're the physical incarnations of demons that are in our bodies. Also, you keep seeing me grabbing my neck. I didn't really get into this, but the other health thing I've been going through is whiplash from the car accident that Alexis and I got in a couple months ago. So I'm still like still dealing with that. It came on a lot later than I expected, but it's one of the reasons I haven't been making as much content lately, is because it's actually hard for me to sit in one position like this for an extended period of time. But I'm trying to like find balance with it. But I'm getting there. Going to physical therapy and getting it worked on. And everyone that has sent Reiki and healing energy and everything, thank you so much. That's really, really kind, and I'm very grateful for that. I really believe in the power of the collective consciousness with all this. And I think the more people that pray towards an outcome, whatever it is, whether it's healing or it's a collective thing, The more people that have a collective intention on something, the more powerful it is. Which is why prayer is so powerful. Earthworth says, did you know some parasites live off of diplomatic passports? Do you mean like literally? Like, or is that a joke? Like that whole system? Or do you mean like there's actually a pathogen that physically lives on them? What's up, James Newworth? Thank you for the love. Oh, Hez, I'm glad to help. Thank you for your comments. Mike P says, literally had a financial problem today, but had a solution by God's grace. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Congrats. I'm glad to hear that. It always comes in when you don't expect it. So many times that's happened. That's what taught me to like be just at peace with it and grateful. It's like we'd have like 20 bucks in our account and be like, how are we going to pay for gas or anything? And then some miracle donation or something would come through and it would just be perfect timing. Alyssa says, I finally had to break down and get a bank account a couple months ago so I could cash a check. That's funny. I've thought about that too. I've got a credit union, but not a full-on bank. But I like barely use it unless I have to. There's a couple things where you do have to still. But yeah, this is where with all the crypto stuff, if you guys want help in this new financial system and you want a guide one-on-one to help you get through all this, I've got my coaching program. It's a 90-day coaching program called Conscious Crypto. And Joel's in there and a couple other people. And it's a 90-day program that basically will walk you through like everything that you need to know, everything that I learned that took me like 2 years of basically putting all this information together, trial and error, losing money, making money, like all that experience I packaged into one course. And basically it's course material that you go through on your own time. And then there's weekly coaching calls that we jump on every week that are where you can ask questions and we talk about all the up-to-date stuff going on in the markets. And we always bring in all this other mind, body, spirit stuff and bring it in full context too. And everyone that's been in the program is just the most amazing, like conscious soul. Everyone, you know, like attracts like. So people that are attracted to the coaching program that join it everyone's on the same consciousness level. It's like we don't have to, there's no one that we have to explain to all this other stuff that we talk about to like catch them up. It's like everyone just gets it. And what I love about the community too, especially the XRP community in general, is like everyone's got this amazing plan for what they're going to do with their generational wealth when they get it and are, you know, actively getting it. And everyone's got amazing plans, whether it's building sanctuaries or building schools or building you know, whatever. Like there's so many great ideas and it's an amazing network that I know is only going to grow and expand. And it's cool to see that we're building the roots of this network before it actually happens, because I firmly believe that this, oh, here comes the rain. I firmly believe that this opportunity that we're getting with the financial system and the restructuring of not the Great Reset, but the quantum reset, the for the people reset, is going to be one of the main catalysts that allow us, people of our, you know, awareness and understanding, and the people that are trying to make a difference in the world that haven't been able to because we've been oppressed by the 1% in the system. It's going to allow these people and us to create the change we want to see in the world. Not wait for the change, not wait for some external entity or event or a Nasara Jasara or even, you know, Mr. T to do anything for us. Like nothing is going to happen for us. I believe that. We're going to have to do it ourselves. And, you know, there's people out there that are influential, like Mr. T, that I think are helping, but it's not like, oh, we have to get over this savior complex, right? whether it's ETs or anything, that something is going to just shift and do it all for us. I do believe that there will be a shift, that is the shift of this financial system. And the people who are preparing now will be put into a place of empowerment and sovereignty when this shift happens, that we will be able to create the world that we've been wanting to see just happen for us. And we're going to be the ones that get to create the active changes in our lives and in the world, because we're going to have all of this new wealth and abundance where we're going to be able to do this. And I truly believe that. I don't think that there's going to, personally, I don't think there's going to be like a Nasara Jasara where everyone gets free money and everyone's all of a sudden a millionaire, because if everyone was a millionaire, everything, you know, a gallon of gas would cost like $1,000. Doesn't make sense. I don't think Nasara Jasara is going to give everyone millions of dollars or whatever. I do think that there is hidden money, that there is money that has been, you know, retrieved from stolen assets and stolen funds that will be redistributed through these decentralized systems in the digital asset space. So that's where we are training to learn these systems now, because if and when there is a dispersion of stolen funds and money that has been kept from the people, it's going to happen through these digital asset systems that are decentralized and governed by the people, because they're instant, they're quantum, and they're governed by the people. It's not going to happen through the centralized Federal Reserve, you know, write a check from Daddy Biden to get in the mail. Like, and I think that's what a lot of people are hung up on, that they're going to get this $1 million check, Nasara, oh, here's your, you know, here's your money. Like, no, it's not going to happen that way. Everybody would be on the same level still if everyone got money. There has to be a level of seeing opportunity with the third eye and having the initiatory test of acting on that, and not only seeing it, but having the courage to do it. Just like I was telling you guys with my thing in China where I did this plank walk, and I knew I had to do it because it was an initiation. The people who are activating on that level and choosing to step into the unknown, to take risks for the betterment of the planet and of their health and of themselves, these are going to be the people who have the greatest level of opportunity that are going to change the world. This is where the money is going to flow, by divine grace. And so this is why I'm training people on this, because I fundamentally and firmly believe, I feel it in all my being, that this shift is coming sooner than later. And we have to be positioned to fight the good fight. We have to be positioned to essentially create the changes that we want to see. Because, you know, even though I'm talking about this great reset, quantum financial reset difference, they may occur as the same event. They may, on a physical level, be the same thing, but it's like, what are the people making out of it, right? So we have to be positioned to be able to fight this spiritual war and this good fight, economically, financially, health-wise, mind, body, spirit, to see the change that we want to see in the world. We are the ones we've been waiting for, right? It's not going to be some other external group. And so this is why I've been training people on this, and why I've gotten this heavy feeling from the universe that I have to prepare as many people for this level of opportunity as soon as possible, because it is running out of time. Like, I don't think there's much time left before the opportunity that is present right now in this moment will be present for much longer. So that's where, like, my coaching program is teaching you, like, exactly what you need to know to do all this. And I'm not saying you need me at all. Like, I'm not trying to be like, hey, you need me to do this or to be in this position. You could go teach yourself all this on the internet, right? You can spend hours, days, years, like I've spent, trial and error doing this. But the reason why I'm teaching people is because it literally took me years to get to where I'm at in my understanding and my technical knowledge of how this stuff works. And like I said, it just clicks with me. The old financial system did not click with me. It still doesn't click with me. I struggle with the old financial system, but the new one makes sense. It's intuitive, it's decentralized, it's governed by the people, it's for the people. So if you can go out and teach yourself this stuff, like, do it. Like, don't wait, right? Like, you don't need me to do it. But if you want somebody to walk you through this and to have a guide to ask questions through along the way, to be able to meet with every week, to be able to have a private chat where we talk about this stuff every day, you ask any questions, we go on a deeper level than we do in these live streams, that's what this coaching program's for. So if that interests you and you want to join this awesome group of conscious investors and like-minded people and people that are figuring out active ways that we're going to change the world for the better, you know, I want you to be a part of it too. So I have a link down in the description where you can watch, like I have a short video talking about the program, giving you a little more details, and then you can book a free call with me there. And basically we'll just get on this free call. We'll talk about like what your goals are. We'll see if the program I have is a good fit for your goals. And if it is, then we'll get you all situated and ready to go. And then you'll be able to start the course as soon as you get off the call with me, and then have our weekly coaching program on the next Thursday. And so yeah, if that interests you, link is in the description for that. And I would love to see you there, because it is honestly, the people that are in that group are going to be changing the world in ways that like I can't even fathom and are so excited for. And it's so cool to see this shift happen in real time. We're planning it before it's even happening. So don't miss out. Okay, back to the comments. Might start raining here soon, so we'll go as long as we can. Oh, thank you, Alexis, for posting the Hua Shan thing. Yes. The art of discernment is a constant process for sure, says Mike P. Yep. Crystal says, very inspirational video. Lost my very well-paying job last week and definitely going through some intense growth tests at the moment, realizing my health needs to come first, then finances will come. I'm right there with you. I'm sending you love and support for that. And if you want, you know, that's what like my program's helping people with, is there's a lot of people that are leaving that old system, that are no longer working their 9-to-5s, that are looking to learn how to reinvest their life savings into a place that it's going to continue growing, and not in a place where it's going to continue dying and be, you know, seeing all this inflation and interest rates rise and all this other stuff. So I feel you, and I'm sending you love and support, Crystal. Oh, Mike, you're mixing music as you listen to this? That's awesome. Yeah, check out your Insta. I think I might follow you on Insta. I'll have to check and see. I've been wanting to get back into DJing too, because I just miss the music so much. DJing and making music again, like ambient music. Maybe I'll even start like another channel for that, where it's like, doesn't have any of the shadow banning algorithms on it. Joel, acupuncture for whiplash? Yeah, that's a good idea. I was actually seeing acupuncture before I got the whiplash, and then I kind of stopped. I don't know why, but maybe I should go back. Oh yeah, Earthworth, the joke about the 45 rate with the passports. Yeah, yeah, I feel you. Oh, Hez, you have the "We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For" shirts? That's awesome. Yeah, so I don't talk about it much here, but this is another thing I've been wanting to put more energy into, that Alexis, my wife, has been putting more energy into recently, and I'm so glad she is. But we have basically a merch shop, or like t-shirt shop on Teespring, and we have a bunch of shirts on there with like conscious designs and stuff, and the one that is the most popular says "We are the ones we've been waiting for." I need to get another one of those, and that's cool that you guys have one. I love those shirts. Oh, Crystal, yeah, you're the one that booked a session with me. That's right. That's right. That's right. Cool. Well, I'll see you this Thursday, I think. Sweet. Well, anything else you guys want to chat about before the rain comes in and washes it away? I think we hit all the main things I wanted to cover with mind, body, spirit, finances. I guess mind we could talk about a little more because we didn't talk about mind a whole ton, but we kind of brought mind into all that. But I think mindset is key. Obviously, it's one of the three pillars: mind, body, spirit. But having a proper and balanced mindset is something that I've been working on, and I think that's probably what I'm now moving into working on even more so right now is the mindset side of things. Like I kind of was in a spirit focused mode for a while, spirit, soul, relationship with God, and then body, and now I feel like I'm moving more into mind, especially in running my own business now and kind of understanding conscious business more and understanding the right mindset to approach like conscious business and success in general and being of service and um, also like investing and these kind of things, because you find, especially with investing and running a business, that the mindset stuff comes up really quick on how you can optimize your mindset for achieving the goals that you want out of life and finding the balance that you want between mind, body, and spirit. So yeah, I'll probably have more to say about mind in like a couple months when I dive into it a little more and have had a little more experience. But um, in relation to like crypto and the markets, there's a whole mindset part of the course that kind of talks about the crypto side of mindset, which has a lot to do with like understanding the mindset of the masses and coming back bringing it from the investment standpoint, coming back to like kind of the internal standpoint of being responsive but not reactive. So we're so conditioned to be reactive that we tend to lash out, we tend to be reactive to the things in our life, but we should seek to be more responsive. So not totally inert, that we don't respond to our environment, but we, instead of reacting out of emotion, we want to be responsive, and we want to have the discernment and the balance and the peace and the time sometimes to be able to step back and look and be responsive instead of reactive to situations, whether it's investing or it's in our relationships or it's with our diets or whatever. um, there's a lot that when you start to meditate on it, you realize, wow, I'm actually more reactive than I would like to be, and I can figure out ways to seek to be more responsive in my environment and still address the catalysts that are coming to me, but doing them in a balanced way. And what the main thing that really helps me with that is, again, from the Law of One, they talk about this, and the questioner basically asks, like, what would the most balanced entity do in a situation where, like, even in the most drastic situations, like say someone comes up and punches you in the face, like catalysts that are just like would aggravate you, right? Like if someone punches you in the face, you just want to punch them back, right? Like, what do you do? And in the Law of One, Ra basically says the most balanced entity, the entity that is hypothetically perfectly balanced, would only respond with love, with pure unconditional love in any circumstance, no matter what the catalyst is. And so that's helped me so much, because I think a lot of what we're taught is to not respond, to shut off, to be closed off to catalyst, right? Like a lot of the false light spiritual teachings want you to destroy your ego. They want you to destroy anything that is the personality. And I don't think that's right. I think that the ego is like the demonization of the personality when we talk about like, get rid of the ego, or that's all ego. And the Law of One talks about this too, that you shouldn't seek to destroy your ego or your personality. You should seek to work with it and embody it and be pure with it. And then when you take the other thing into account of the most balanced entity would be perfectly loving in every situation, then it really helps you with any circumstance that you're like, how should I react to this? Okay, if I was perfectly balanced, which not saying we are, none of us are, right? I think if we were, we would probably not be here anymore, right? We'd like rainbow light body, right? So the fact that we're here shows us that we can still learn to integrate this more. And it's not always possible in every moment to be perfectly loving, but when you keep that as the
the goal that you're striving towards, it really helps you clarify a lot of situations in your life when you're like, how do I respond to this? You can respond with pure love. And sometimes pure love is standing up for yourself. Sometimes pure love is apologizing. Sometimes pure love, in our particular distortions, it can take a variety of different contexts. So I've just found that really, really helpful. What's up, Zach? Good to see you, man. Joel says, give us one of your world famous end of year price predictions for XRP. No. Who knows? End of year. Every prediction is wrong, it seems. We'll see what happens. Oh, Alyssa, you have the light code shirt that says Rise and Thrive. Awesome. I got to put the link for those shirts back up in my bio. I don't think it's in there right now. I'll have to put that in next time in the description. Well, cool, you guys. I think that's going to be it for me. It's been almost 2 hours. It's pretty good. And thank you all for hanging out and spending some time together. Love to be able to just chat about these kind of things. It's really healing for me too. So it's not just, it's for both of us. It's healing for both of us. I think anytime you can get yourself and put yourself out and kind of put yourself out there and voice your opinions, it's a great exercise, and it's a great way to clarify your thoughts. And it serves not only the people that you're talking to, but it serves your own mind and your mental health and everything. So much love to you guys. Again, if you want to join the crypto coaching program, you can check out the link in the description below. You can book a free call with me there. We'll chat about any questions you have, and we'll see if the program's a good fit for you. And if it's not, then I'll try to send you in a direction that would be better suited for your goals and your experience level. But I hope to see you book a call with me. It would be awesome to see you in the group if you're feeling called to it. Just follow your intuition on one way or the other, but whether it's with me or somebody else, I think it's really important to take advantage of the time that we're in right now, because there is, even though the financial system is going to switch for the better, I think we could see a period of time where the transition is maybe hard on the people who have not prepared, where if you're still hanging on to the old world of the finances and you haven't yet begun to teach yourself about the new decentralized for the people systems because you're just waiting for it to happen, I have a feeling that there could be a bit of struggle period while the transition's happening. And this is that time period where I'm saying we need to prepare and make the most of this opportunity so that we can fight the good fight and be present and aware and make the changes we want to see in the world, rather than relying upon any person or group or whatever to do them for us, where we're just like, all right, I'm just waiting. If you find basically in general, if you find yourself sitting around going, when is this going to happen? Because my life sucks and I just need this event to happen, whether it's someone coming back and being president, or some landings happening, or XRP going to $1 million, right? If you're just sitting around waiting for all this stuff, you're probably going to be waiting for a bit longer, just because that's how the universe works. And I really believe that we're supposed to be making the most out of every day, whether it's our personal healing or preparing for these shifts or whatever. Every moment is precious, and this can't be stressed enough. Like, every moment, you have to find that peace and that happiness and that fulfillment in every moment. And if you're just waiting and you find yourself frustrated in the moment because you're waiting for the time to move faster, that's a sign that you could be doing something better with your time. And then the things that you're waiting for, they're probably going to come. But if you're doing those things every day, not only are they going to come faster because you're doing something with your life every day that you care about, but you're going to create that thing on a quantum level happening a lot faster. You're going to allow for the universe to create it faster than if you're sitting around waiting, because it's like the law of attraction. And if you're waiting, you're going to attract more waiting in your life. If you're doing and you're taking action and you're healing on mind, body, spirit level, you're preparing for the future, you're investing in the future, you're investing in yourself, you're going to be successful, I think. on a multi-dimensional quantum level. So this is where I've been drawn to helping people on, particularly with the financial side of things and creating this abundance, because this is something that I've found that I'm really good at and that I have a niche with, and that just really resonates with me. And I want to prepare as many people on the financial side of things to come as soon as possible. And like I said, this new financial system, it's eventually going to be good. So it's not like if you don't do this, you're like going to be set up for failure in the future. I don't think that. Like, I think that eventually when we fight this good fight and make the changes we want to see, we're going to create the world we want to see. And it's going to happen way faster than we can imagine. Once enough people are behind the energy of doing it and creating it quantumly with quantum prayer and everything. But I think that there's still a little bit of maybe turmoil that has to happen, and further catalyst that needs to happen to allow for us to step into our highest selves and our highest degree of empowerment. Hey, sweetie. For the optimal timeline to occur, because I think this whole experience on Earth is it's not about the destination, it's about the process. It's about traveling to where we want to go. It's about the journey. It's not about waiting for the inevitability. The inevitability is inevitable, but it's about how we're going to get there. And with that, the rain is coming in, and my cat is telling me that she wants me to spend some time with her. So I'm going to head out of here. Again, if you guys want to click and book a free call with me, you can book a free call with me to learn about cryptocurrency and see if the program I have is a good fit for you, the coaching program. Join the awesome group of like-minded conscious investors that we have going on. And I'll try to do another video update soon. Let me know what I kind of struggle to figure out what format I should do sometimes. This is where the mental thing I'm working on and figuring out the easiest flow. I'm like, do I just go on here, and do people enjoy when I just riff like this the most and just kind of, talk about whatever? Or is it better if I have particular links and things to reference? So just leave me a comment. Tell me what you find more helpful and more of service to you in your journey. And that'll help me figure out the best way that I can be of service in these broadcasts. So again, much love. Thank you guys for hanging out. And I'll see you soon. Much love.